Hello, today we'll be talking about the multi-tiered systems of education. We will also be using MTSS for short. We're going to be using various abbreviations throughout this presentation, but I'll make sure to explain them before the first time we encounter those. So we will be talking about the multi-tier education system, which is MTSS, and RTI, which falls under the umbrella of MTSS. We will also be talking about the benefits to these systems and how they are implemented in our school, and the reason why assessments and multi-tier systems are important. So the multi-tier system of supports, or MTSS, is designed to help schools identify struggling students early and intervene quickly. It includes academic growth by supporting all students, including those with behavior, social, and emotional needs. This is very important because later on when we learn about RTI, we just have to remember that MTSS is the bigger picture because it includes behavior, social, and emotional needs, while RTI falls under the umbrella of a multi-tier system. It's just mainly based on academics. So MTSS is more broad, was the word I was looking for. And then that last bullet point, it is presented in either a 4 or 3-tier system where it outlines where and how education is implemented to make sure they are getting the support they need. So I will be talking about the 3-tier system. And here's an image of the 3-tier system. It goes 1, 2, 3. 1 at the bottom is school-wide, universal. This is your general ed classroom. This is where we see a lot of our students. And if we see a student that is struggling, then we move them up to 2, which is targeted. It's smaller groups. They do group work, and they're still spending a lot of time with 1 as well. It's general ed, but they're just a little bit more targeted. And if we see a student is struggling there, we move them up to 3. It's kind of like a ladder system. And so with 3, they're very individual and intensive. It's one-on-one. Sometimes they might even get an aide or be in a separate classroom, but our goal still is to keep them in general ed as much as possible. So that's why early intervention is something that's extremely important, because we're able to observe and move them up and down the tiers according to how much how much help they need. Now we're going to talk about RTI, which is response to intervention, RTI. This is also a multi-tiered approach, similar to MTSS, that focuses on the early identification and support of students with learning and behavior needs. RTI measures student data and picks which intervention strategies work best for that student. And RTI is more focused on the academic portion compared to MTSS, which tends to be broader. So like I mentioned earlier, and then on this image right here, we see that RTI is within MTSS. MTSS is broader, and RTI is a little bit more definitive over what they're looking for, like academic based. They're both the same. They still run on a tier system though, and so they still work the same way. And so over here's a framework for RTI, and I will explain the different ones. So what RTI bases off of is universal screening. This assessment is used to help identify which students are under-resourced, and need that representation. And then the second one is progress monitoring. It includes progress monitoring to track students' academic performance and rate of learning. This is very important because we're able to see where a student stands in their learning abilities, and monitoring their progress is an essential part of that. And then there's a multi-level prevention system, so similarly to MTSS, where there's different tiers, we move them up and down those tiers according to their needs. And then in the middle, we have data-based decision making. So based off how the assessment goes or how they do on those certain tests, it helps us decide what intervention techniques we might have to do or accommodations to help that student do better overall, because that's our goal, is to educate all students and make them comfortable. So all these tiers and frameworks help us create a better, well-rounded view of these students to help them be better, or help us actually be better on how to educate them. So why are these important? MTSS helps to ensure students benefit from nurturing environments and equitable access to instruction and supports that are differentiated to meet their unique needs. Differentiation is so important because these students, every student, even beyond special needs, they're all bring something important to the table, and this allows us to be very versatile in how we present this information. It helps with accountability from the school and parents and sees the child as a whole person. It takes into account the different layers and barriers that students may need to overcome in order to succeed. It provides students with special needs a safe and effective learning environment. And these processes are essential because they create a database that allows us to see what intervention techniques work best for the students. And this image I really, really liked because it talks about the different things that fall under MTSS. We see teamwork, we see benchmarking, which is important for assessments, creating those goals, curriculum design over on that right-hand side. And there it is, response to intervention, RTI. So all this stuff, all these tier systems are here to help our children and the teachers become better educators around those unique needs. Now we're going to talk about the assessments. The assessments that come along with all these tier systems and frameworks. Are they important? Yes, so this assessment data and results are how the IEP team figures out your child's IEP goals. Once the team knows what goals your child needs to progress in school, the team can see which special education, supplementary aids, and services and related services your child needs to meet the goals. The assessment provided through the MTSS and IEP help give us an insight on how the student is doing and helps us determine the most effective accommodations and modifications. The ultimate goal is to get a better understanding of the student and to see every aspect of their being, what works best for them, and how do we work on those strengths. Being flexible and versatile is something so essential, and these assessments help us gauge where your student is at. What do they need help on? What do they struggle with? And it also tells us what do they like doing? What made them better? And so all this data helps us as teachers create a better curriculum, a better lesson plan, so that these students can succeed. And so in conclusion, the MTSS is the system put in place to help identify and help students that may be struggling. There are many forms of MTSS, including response intervention, which is specific to academic needs, while MTSS is broader and takes into account emotional and social needs. These systems help create a database and include assessments that help create accommodations. And the assessments help us gauge where the students are and help create goals so that we can help students reach them. Thank you so much. The next slide is a reference page. Very, very helpful sources. And I can link them for you guys as well if it's easier for you to access them that way. Thank you so much.